I am a man of honor, integrity, and promise. I pursue all righteousness. I love my family. I will not put my family in harm's way. There is nothing that will keep me from doing the right thing. I am an ambassador of hope and a man of discipline. I am a man worth following. I am a TYRO.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to TYRO TV. I'm Ron TYRO.
And I'm Kathy TYRO.
And for those of you who don't know who we are, we served 15 years in the state penitentiary. When I say we, when a man goes into prison, he doesn't go in there alone. His whole family goes in there with him.
In spite of those 15 years, actually probably because of those 15 years, Ron and I and our family grew stronger and began to thrive together. And we learned a lot of secrets about what it takes to overcome every obstacle. And we took some of those secrets and we put them in a book called High Five, Love Never Fails. Over the last couple of weeks, we've been talking about our book and the 5 principles: friendship, faithfulness, forgiveness, fairness, and fortitude, that are unveiled in this book. And so last week, we really hit pretty hard on friendship, and this week we want to talk to you about faithfulness.
Now, faithfulness is a powerful word. You know, what does that look like? What do you think about when you hear the word faithfulness? Well, a guy, in the way we think about infidelity. That's the first place a man goes to, thinking that somebody's unfaithful in that regard in a relationship. But what we want to talk about is actually deeper than that, because there's a lot of areas in our lives that we discovered through our journey that we were unfaithful in a lot of other areas of our life. For example, work. You know, I would be the guy at work. I show up to work and it's 9 o'clock. I just clocked in, but guess what? Instead of going straight to the line, I got to go to the bathroom. I was unfaithful at work. I was actually stealing from work because I would go to the bathroom. But guys, the truth is, did I have to go to the bathroom? No. Right?
So when we think about unfaithfulness and we think about that infidelity, so that's where we were before Ron went to prison. Is I was like, well, of course, you know, I'm faithful. Ron's the person that's being unfaithful because he was being sexually unfaithful. And through our journey, we became aware of the fact that there are so many different levels of unfaithfulness. And I had to accept the fact that I too had been unfaithful to Ron because his name was not safe in my mouth. Let me explain that a little bit. When Ron was in prison, Ron hadn't been in prison for very long, and I was looking for a place to live, and I found this farmhouse, and I went to meet the owner of the farmhouse. We went on the tour, and I fell in love with it. And the whole time I'm going through, I'm thinking, okay, if I tell him that Ron's in prison, the chances are he's not going to want to rent this house to me. And so by the time we got to the end, and he says, well, what do you think? And I said, you know what? I really like it. I think that we'd like to live here. And he says, well, are you married? And I said, yeah, very happily married. And he says, so what does your husband do for a living? And so I hesitated for just a second, and then I said, he's serving. And he says, oh, like in the military? I said, yes, because I didn't want to say he's serving time in prison. And so as this conversation went on, I ended up leaving, going home, and feeling a little bit twinge of, oh gosh, you know, my embarrassment of Ron just caused me to tell a lie about him. And then as things unraveled over the course of the next few days, and friends called and said, hey, you left my name as a reference, and they think your husband's in the service and not in prison. And then I talked to Ron, and Ron was like, you know, well, why didn't you just tell him? And I could hear the hurt in his voice. And I realized that I was unfaithful because I was ashamed and embarrassed of him. And so my duty as a wife, and our duty in faithfulness, is to protect, love, and defend. And I had not protected Ron, I had not defended him, and I had not been loyal to him. And so when we think about faithfulness, we have to change the way that we think so that we can change the way that we act. If we only think of faithfulness as being sexually unfaithful or engaging in sex with somebody else, we have so missed the mark. And we're never going to have that really thriving relationship that you really want to have if you just limit that definition to such a narrow definition.
You know, and I want to share a story too. When we were growing up and really coming into a place of being honest and wanting to really start over again, and starting over again in a relationship, when you got to be so transparent and allow that person in to see what has been hidden for quite some time, and you've kept it hidden. You know, there comes a time where you're going to bring it to the light. And I remember when I was at a prison, and this is the beginning of our incarceration, and prior to going to prison, Kathy would constantly ask me, did you have an affair on me? And I would constantly say,
No.
You know, it was like the time when I would come home from a bar or something, and Kathy would look at me straight in the eyes, and she would ask me, "Are you high?" And I would, with my eyes barely open, and I would look into her face and say, "No, what makes you think I'm high?" And of course, we all know I was high. And so when she would ask me if I had an affair on her, and of course I practiced lying to her. And then finally, here's a day, I'm in prison, I'm on a phone, she's on the other end, she asked me this question, but I had already made a decision prior to her asking me that if she asked me again, was I unfaithful to her, I had already determined in my heart that I was going to tell her the truth.
And you see, the fact of the matter is, I already knew the truth. I already knew, because he wasn't a very good liar. And so I already knew that he had been unfaithful. But then actually hearing him say it was a shock. Because for these last few years when I'd been asking, he kept saying, no, 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 I expected him to do the same thing. But Ron had made a decision that he wanted to no longer be unfaithful, but to be faithful in every way. And so part of that was telling me the truth. And so it's not until we had the revelation of what faithfulness truly was that we were able to really activate that in our life. And so we want to share with you, as we come back in the next segment, we're going to share with you more ideas and practical ways on how to really implement faithfulness from right now, right where you are.
TYRO Dads will help you to see who you really are on the inside by coming to terms with your past, present, and future. You will begin to move forward by using your time on the inside to transform yourself. We know you are not the only one serving time. Your family is too. Overcoming the issues that existed prior to and during incarceration are often more than many families can survive. TYRO Dads has a unique method of reaching and healing families based on Ron and Kathy TYRO's own personal experience with incarceration. TYRO Dads works exclusively with incarcerated fathers who have minor children. The program lasts for 10 weeks and focuses on intensive character development. You'll be taught to take responsibility for your actions, to own it. You will be prepared to overcome the obstacles of your incarceration and transition back into your home and community, both successfully and permanently. Upon successful completion of this program, you will earn the title of TYRO, which means a warrior, someone learning something new. You'll be one of the honored, a man worth following.
If you think you have what it takes to be a TYRO or just want to know more, contact your local Ridge Project facilitator or your caseworker.
Hi everyone, welcome back to TYRO TV. I'm Ron TYRO.
And I'm Kathy TYRO.
And we've been talking about faithfulness and what it is and what it looks like. And I think, and I feel that it's very hard to really get a hold of faithfulness because there's so many levels to it. And it's just not a surface word. It's not a surface principle. That to really practice faithfulness, you got to look at every area of your life and examine it. Are you faithful in the little things? Because if you're faithful in the little things, I believe a person will be faithful in the bigger things.
And many people don't really realize the true definition of faithfulness. Faithfulness is affirming your family's intrinsic value, demonstrating steady allegiance to fulfilling your duty to protect, love, and defend them.
You know, when I realized the true definition of faithfulness while I was incarcerated, first of all, I realized I was not being faithful in a lot of things. I still felt entitled. I still felt that things were owed to me even though I was in prison. You know, and I made a conscious decision, you know what, I'm going to get up before the guard comes to wake me up. You know, I want to be faithful in getting up to be on time to work. And then making it closer, bringing it closer to home, I want to be faithful in writing letters to Kathy at least once a week, twice a week. Being faithful to write letters to the boys once a week. Being faithful that when I got you on the phone and I'm talking to you, I didn't ask you for anything. You know, and that took discipline. That was hard for me to not put me first. You know what? If I don't get a letter from Kathy back, I know she's more busier than I am because I have a lot of time on my hands, that I'm not going to take that personal because she didn't write me back, because I would be on the phone. Did you read my letter? I just sent her a 15-page letter, and I would have expected her to read it within 3 days, and she would tell me, I just got it today. Well, you haven't read it yet? It's, you know, and I would write literally 15-page books.
Yeah, I remember.
And I had to come to a place, you know what? She'll read it when it's time to quiet down. And I had to be faithful in that no matter if she didn't have time to write me back, because I know she was out there in that race while I was in here on the sidelines watching the race go by. I had to do everything that I could to help encourage Kathy, to help encourage you to keep pressing on forward, to move to what our dreams were and can be.
And as he began to make these small choices and decisions, I mean, the ripple effect was huge in our lives, because I began to relax and know, whew, I'm safe. I can trust Ron. And it didn't happen overnight, but as he was consistent in being faithful towards me, and as he was consistent in changing what he was doing, and some of the things are things just that I observed on visits and phone calls. Some of those things were things I would hear about, that have run into people whose brother or husband or son was also in prison with Ron, and news travels fast, fellas. And so they would say, oh yeah, your husband's TJ? Well, let me tell you what my son or my husband has to say about him. And so faithfulness, as he was being consistently faithful, it began to heal old wounds inside of me, and it began to solidify my faithfulness towards him. Because my faithfulness, the place that was the hardship for me, was being faithful to him with my words, and speaking life to him, and being careful about what I was saying about him to our children, to people out in society. And we often think that, well, there's going to be some defining moment, and in that moment I'm going to shine, and this big test of faithfulness. But the truth is, faithfulness is tested every single day in every choice you make.
And that's a great point about being tested every day. I would be tested in is Kathy going to come and visit me this month? And it came to a place of where when Kathy did come to see me, I was seeing faithfulness in action. When Kathy would accept a phone call, that was faithfulness in action. I would call home and believing that she was going to answer the phone. And when she did, it came to a point in our relationship where not only did I have the faith that she was going to do it, but she was faithful in it, that if she said she was going to be there at 9 o'clock at night for me to call her, she was there. And I wanted to be that for her. I wanted to be that steady for Kathy and the boys from even inside prison. When I said, I'm going to write you a letter this week, and that's all I could do, I would be there. I would be that rock as best as I could for you. You're going to get a letter this week. You're going to get a phone call this week. You're going to get a letter of encouragement to the boys this week. I will write it. Because when she was asking me to do these things for Blake and Brandon, to write them letters, that's all she was asking. She wasn't asking me, hey, look, I need you to pay these bills. And so to watch Kathy grow up to become this woman of faith, a woman of faithfulness, I was able to actually learn a lot from Kathy's life, watching her faithful 4 times a month coming to see me. And we call it, we say like clockwork. Kathy was there on time. She would come, and even if she only had $20 on a prison visiting room, I knew I could count on, well, Kathy's coming, and she's going to, because she told me she's going to be there. But more importantly, I wanted to be that for her.
So I guess what we can take away from this really is, guys, it's never too early to begin practicing faithfulness. You can't wait till you get home to start it. And speaking of home, in our next segment, we're going to talk about how you can really activate faithfulness in your relationship between you and your spouse, or you and the mother of your children, or your significant other. So stay tuned.
Playing catch, basketball, laughing, and enjoying each other's company. These are all normal things on the outside, but many times are missed in a visitation setting. TYRO Dads brings the same fun experience to the inside through Family Days. As a TYRO Dad, you have the opportunity to participate in this fantastic event. Family Day is designed to allow fathers and families to engage with each other through activities designed to stimulate communication, learning, and play. Family Days will not only be a highlight for you, but for your children as well. The Ridge Project has strategically developed Family Day as an opportunity to help you connect with your child throughout your separation, and help both of you develop skills to continue building your relationship when you return home.
If you think you have what it takes to be a TYRO or just want to know more, contact your local Ridge Project facilitator or your caseworker.
Hi, everyone. Welcome back to TYRO TV. I'm Ron TYRO.
And I'm Kathy TYRO.
And we've been talking about our book, High Five, Love Never Fails, and the 5 key ingredients to a successful, healthy family. And what we're talking about is faithfulness. And I want to talk about a subject that sometimes we make fun of and we joke about, but it's a serious matter. And it's about being faithful, guys, with our eyes. You know, and that's a serious battle that a lot of men have. And it's called pornography. You know, a lot of men out here are addicted to pornography, and they call, you know, the internet is just blasted everywhere. You know, but so the saying is, and just like it is in there, can you stand a shakedown? You know, can you be faithful? Are you faithful enough to that where you can stand a shakedown? If somebody were to come to your locker box and you're married and they open it up, are they going to find a pornography in your locker box? Are they going to find it underneath your mattress? Because I'm telling you, if you can't stand a shakedown, then you're not being faithful. You're not being faithful, because being faithful to your wife is saving your eyes for her. And that's a battle, because men are visual. So that means you got to discipline yourself to look away. And maybe encourage the next guy, say, listen, man, you don't need to feed yourself that pornography or that type of poison.
And that was one of the things while Ron was in prison. Early on when he was in prison, I would notice that he would notice other people, especially other women in the prison visiting room. And I remember one time that somebody was walking by and Ron turned his head and I said, hey. And he turned and he says, what? I said, that look, that's for me. You know, you just gave away something that belongs to me. And he was like, and he looked at me and says, oh my gosh, it like hit him. He says, you know what, I am so sorry, you're right. The way that I just looked at her, that's just for you.
You know, and I'm smiling because that's the type of relationship that we have, where I am confident in my manhood that I can take that from my wife, that I can hear that when I slip, when my eyes go where they're not supposed to go, it's okay that my wife has my back. Hey, you know, and
but the reason that I point that out is that the reason I noticed it is because he had stopped looking. And before he went to prison, and right at the very beginning, like it was just who he was. He was always noticing everything, and that was normal. So when he stopped doing that and began exemplifying faithfulness, that momentary second look, all of a sudden that became the anomaly. So see, like that much of a change happened that I noticed, wait a minute, wow, that changed.
You know, gentlemen, when you come home from prison, if people don't see a change in you, what you want them to say is this, is that Jim who lived so-and-so down the street? No way, that can't be him, because he was the guy that, and you fill in the blanks. But if you can have that type of transformation, you know, I remember when I first came home, and Kathy and we went to Nashville, and we came out of a place, a hotel. We were by the Grand Ole Opera, and I had only been home.
And it was, I don't know, because I think it was maybe spring. It was maybe February or March or something. But we came out and on the street, and I'm not thinking anything of it. And Ron has got a hold of my hand, and he's looking straight up the sky, and he says, I need to go right now. And I'm like, are you feeling okay? No, I need to get back to the hotel, get me somewhere right away. He's like, what in the world? What's going on? And so as we navigate through, I said, Ron, are you okay? He goes, no. He says, there's like skin everywhere, and I don't want to dishonor you. And I started laughing. I mean, not in a bad way, but just like, wow. You know, there was a time when that Ron wouldn't have even considered or thought of that. And so I'm like, okay, it's all right, babe. I got you. We will get you back to the hotel. And he went in, he's like, shoo. He says there was just like, there was so many people wearing so little clothes. And he says that I was having such a hard time, and I just wanted to get out of there.
Because, gentlemen, this takes work and effort. And the world and the society that we live in today, it is what it is, man. But you don't have to embrace it, and you don't have to accept it. You can hold yourself accountable, that you're convicted, but you can become a man of conviction. And it's going to take discipline.
And it's going to create safety in your relationship. But because before Ron had gone to prison, if he would have said, help me, I'm having a hard time, there are all these people, all these women, beautiful women around me, I would have been like, what? And I would have been angry. And instead, like this faithfulness and friendship had so developed in our relationship that it was like, okay, I'm your friend. let me help you. If you are feeling like, oh my goodness, get me out of here, let me be that for you and get you out of here.
And that's what we want to be for our wives. You know, when you know what struggle people are having, everybody has a struggle of something, man. And you got to be honest about that, because that's what friendship, that's what faithfulness, that's what builds a healthy relationship. Being so transparent with one another that you're not judging somebody's weakness, but you're there to help strengthen them in the midst of it.
And when we come back, we're going to talk about how you can develop faithfulness in your relationship with your children so that you can stop the cycles of incarceration. So stay tuned.
Completion of TYRO Dads is just the beginning of the opportunities available to you. As a TYRO Dad, you will be eligible to participate in workforce strengthening services to help prepare you for employment and open the doors to economic stability for you and your family. The workforce strengthening program starts with job ethics training. Once completed, you may be eligible to receive training to acquire your commercial driver's license while still inside prison. If getting a CDL is not for you, then there is also a welding training program you may be eligible for. As more programs are being added, there really is something for almost everyone.
If you think you have what it takes to be a TYRO or just want to know more, contact your local Ridge Project facilitator or your caseworker.
Hi everyone, welcome back to TYRO TV. I'm Ron TYRO.
And I'm Kathy TYRO. And today we've been talking about faithfulness, which is one of the high five principles in our book, High Five, Love Never Fails.
And you know, we want to talk about our children and what faithfulness means to them and what it looks like to them. And the only place they can really see what faithfulness looks like, dads, is at you. You know, they want to know what this word faithfulness looks like manifested in the flesh. What does it look like alive?
So they're looking to their parents to say, okay, what is faithfulness and what is a healthy relationship? And even though you're not in the home, Dad, you play a vital role in ensuring that your children have a firm understanding of what it means to be faithful.
You know, we have a little girl, she's 11 years old, and I talk to dads. Dads, if you have a little girl right now and you're not the man you want your little girl to marry, I promise you she's going to marry a guy like you. So you are obligated, you have a duty to become the dad you want your little girl to marry. Because if you're not, look to the guy to the right, look to the guy to the left. The guy who's down the bunk from you, because that's who's coming for your little girl. But if you want her to see a man of honor, a man of valor, a man of good character, a man worth following, then that must be you, because she's looking to you for these answers. She wants to know, what does faithfulness really look like? How do I know what faithfulness? My dad's in prison. My mom is doing whatever she has to do to survive out here, and maybe a twisted way of looking at what faithfulness is. We want her to understand. I want my little girl to know that the man that she chooses to marry, that he's going to take care of her, he's going to be faithful to her, not only physically, but emotionally, financially, spiritually, all the above. And so we want our daughter to know what faithfulness is not, and what faithfulness is.
And our sons, because our sons are gonna grow up, and we want them to be responsible and healthy and fulfilled in their relationships. And in order to be that, they have to understand what faithfulness really is, and they have to begin to practice that and instill and invest that.
You know what's really great, since coming home, I know that both my sons, this happened in one day. You know, and guys, listen, if you don't know this, if you're not a man of your word, your name is what? Doo-doo, right? And so there was a time in my life where my name was Doo-doo. So here's what faithfulness looks like. So because of my change in life, my change of behavior, the way we think, the way we walk, the way we work.
And being faithful in holding on to that change with every little decision every single day.
People around us are watching, and they're seeing the people that we have become now. So here's Blake and Brandon. The same day, they both apply at a different place to work at. So Blake applies at this one company, and Blake tells them who he is, and they said, "Oh, your dad's Ron?" "Yeah." Said, "Come on, man, we're gonna give you a second interview." He gets the job. Now, rewind, 10 years, 15, 20 years ago. "Oh, your dad is Ron? Get out of here." Right? Same thing with Blake or Brandon. The same day, he goes to another company and applying for a job. "Oh, your dad is Ron? You got the job." So your reputation precedes you. Your faithfulness or your legacy will precede you, and they're going to
So your
believe.
faithfulness opens the door, but instilling faithfulness in them keeps the door open and opens the next door.
That's right.
Because if it's just your faithfulness, but you haven't taught them and instilled that in them, all that's going to happen is they'll have one open door and they're going to fall on their face. So if you really want your children to be successful, you've got to teach them what it means to be faithful in how you act, how you speak, who you hang out with, how you treat people around you, how you don't talk about people. You talk to them, and as you teach them these principles, then they can activate those things, and as you open doors for them, then they can continue on and shine.
You know, faithfulness in celebrating each other, and that's what faithfulness looks like. It's an action, man. Faithfulness is action, celebration, loving one another. Now, all of us at one time in our life, we've been a hater. Right? But let me tell you what hater stands for. Having anger towards somebody reaching success. And if you can change that mindset, quit hating on people and start celebrating them, you can start to see this concept called faithfulness start to grow inside you. You're going to be faithful in lifting up somebody around you, lifting them up.
Right. Let me give you a litmus test. This is what we do in our family, and this is what I started doing as Ron was in prison. It's like every choice that I came up against, I had to ask myself 3 questions. One is, if I do this, is it honorable to me? Number 2, if I do this, would it be honorable towards Ron? And 3, if I do this, will it bring honor to my children? And so if any of those were that it would not bring honor, that it would be dishonoring, then the answer was, I don't do this. And if it was neutral, then I could decide to do it. And if it was, yes, doing this thing is going to bring honor to my family, then it was, okay, I have to find a way to do this. So if every decision that you make, that you bring it back to that litmus test, then I promise you that you are going to begin to develop faithfulness and trust in your family.
So if you go to the hole for holding hooch for somebody, is that being faithful to your family? If you go to the hole for dealing in tobacco, is that being faithful to somebody? Do the test. What you're going to do today, if it doesn't bring honor to you, your family, your wife, then don't do it.
So we want to challenge you to take every moment of every day to make a new, fresh decision for change, to build a better foundation for your future.
Well, thank you for joining us on this segment of TYRO TV and allowing us to be part of your journey. Until next time, always remember,
we are rooting for you.
I am a man of honor.
I am a man of integrity.
I am a man of faith. I am the antidote.
I am a man of discipline. I am a leader.
I am strong.
I am a man worth following.
I am a TYRO.